Hi children, today we are going to learn a new topic, heterotrophic nutrition. In the previous class, you have already covered autotrophic nutrition and now we are moving to the second mode of nutrition, that is the heterotrophic nutrition. Mode of nutrition of an organism depends on different strategies, that is the availability of food. So different organisms obtain their food in different ways. In the case of plants, they can prepare their own food. What about animals? They cannot prepare their own food. So they depend on others for their food. Such type of nutrition in which organisms depend on others for their food directly or indirectly is called heterotrophic nutrition. The word heterotrophic derived from two Greek words. Hetero means different, trophy means nutrition. In the heterotrophic nutrition, there are different strategies based on different factors. If the food source is stationary or static like grass, animal like cow has to come and eat the grass because the grass cannot move. And if the food source is moving or mobile like deer, animal like tiger has to run and catch the prey. In both cases, body parts of these organisms are adapted to that particular mode of nutrition. So there is a range of strategies by which food is taken in and used by the organism. Some organisms break down their foods outside their body and then they absorb it. Some other organisms consume the whole food materials and they break down it inside their body like that. So what can be taken in and broken down is based on the body design and function. So the way by which food is taken in and how it is used, based on that, there are three different types of heterotrophic nutrition. Saprophytic nutrition, parasitic nutrition and holozoic nutrition. Let us see these three in detail. You would have seen bread mold, that means the molds that grow on stale bread or pickle. Because of this, you often know that the dead and decaying plants and animals are the sites for fungal growth because fungus derives its nutrition from dead and decaying matter. This way of getting nutrition from dead and decaying matter is called saprophytic nutrition. Examples like bread mold, yeast, mushroom, and all. And when we move to the second mode of nutrition, that is the parasitic nutrition. What are parasites? Parasites are organisms that live inside or outside the body of other organisms and they derive nutrition from it without harming that organism. For example, leech. Leech gets its nutrition by sucking the blood of other organisms. Worms like roundworm, which live inside the human body and it derive nutrition from the human system. So such type of nutrition in which organisms live inside or outside the body of other organisms and derive nutrition from it is called parasitic nutrition. And when we move to the higher forms of animals, how these higher forms of animals get their nutrition? According to their food preference, animals like jackal, lion, tiger and all, they all are flesh-eating animals. Hence they are called carnivores. And the animals like cow, sheep, goat and all, they all are plant-eating animals. Hence they are all called herbivores. But in the case of human beings, by our own individual choice, we may consume plants or we may choose to have cooked flesh of other animals. Hence, human beings can call as omnivores. So all these animals have a proper digestive system. So what is the purpose of having such a proper digestive system? Because all these animals consume complex form of food materials. So these complex form of food materials should convert into simpler one. The mode of nutrition by which organisms take in complex food materials and break down it into simpler form is called holozoic nutrition. So in all these cases, saprophytic, parasitic and holozoic, you can see that there is a link between these all organisms. What is that link? They all depend on others for their food, whether the food source is dead or living. They depend on others. That is why they are called heterotrophs. If we will compare this autotrophic nutrition with heterotrophic nutrition, there are some differences between these two. In the case of autotrophic nutrition, the organisms can prepare their own food. But what about heterotrophic nutrition? The organisms cannot prepare their own food. And in the case of autotrophic nutrition, simple inorganic materials used to make complex form of food materials. But in the case of heterotrophic nutrition, complex food materials converted into simpler one. In the case of autotrophic nutrition, chlorophyll is necessary. But in the case of heterotrophic nutrition, chlorophyll is not necessary. So these are some differences between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now let us see the holozoic nutrition in detail. I have already told you that animals and human beings consume complex form of food materials. So in the case of human beings, we consume bread, wheat, meat, vegetables and all. Our body cannot absorb these complex food materials as such. So these complex food materials should be converted into simpler one, then only our body can absorb it. That is why it is called holozoic nutrition also. So 5 steps are involved in this holozoic nutrition. Let us see that 5 steps. Ingestion. What is ingestion? The process of intake of food materials in the complex form. That is called ingestion. The first step. The second one is digestion. What is digestion? Conversion of this complex food material into simpler form. That is called digestion. And the next step is absorption. Diffusion of this simpler food into blood or lymph. That is called absorption. And the next one is assimilation. Energy from this absorbed food is utilized for various activities. That is called assimilation. And the last step is called egestion. It is the removal of undigested food materials, or the elimination of undigested food materials is called egestion. In both unicellular and multicellular organisms, you can see this holozoic nutrition. Let us see the holozoic nutrition in amoeba. Holozoic nutrition takes place in amoeba. Here also the 5 steps are there in holozoic nutrition. The first one is ingestion. How does this ingestion takes place in amoeba? By pseudopodia. What is the pseudopodia? Pseudopodia is the temporary finger-like extension of the cytoplasm. Here you can see the pseudopodia, the temporary finger-like extension of the cytoplasm. So by using the pseudopodia, amoeba engulf the food particles. So wherever the food particle, amoeba extend its pseudopodia or cytoplasm and engulf that food material. and this process is called phagocytosis. Once these food particles engulfed by the pseudopodia, the tips of these pseudopodia will join together and a food vacuole will form. And now the food is inside the food vacuole. Next step is digestion. Enzymes released by the lysosomes will reach the food vacuole and it digests the food materials into simpler form. Next step is absorption. These digested food materials will diffuse into the cytoplasm. And assimilation. From this absorbed food material, energy utilized for various activities. And the last step is egestion. The waste material is eliminated or expelled out by the rupture of the cell membrane. At any side, the cell membrane can rupture and the waste materials will be eliminated out and the cell membrane rejoin again. This is the way by which nutrition takes place in amoeba. If we will compare this nutrition in amoeba and paramecium, you can see some differences. In the case of paramecium, the food intake or the intake of food takes place with the help of cilia. You can see cilia all over the body, the cell membrane. You can see the cilia all over the body here. Okay. The cilia is a hair-like structure and it helps to capture the food material or catch the food material. And through the cilia, the food material will reach the oral groove or the mouth. And from there, a food vacuole is formed and now the food is inside the food vacuole. Now the food vacuole can circulate through the cytoplasm and then digestion takes place. Enzymes released by the lysosome reach the food vacuole and it digests the food material. Then the digested food material will be absorbed into the cytoplasm. And from the absorbed food material, energy utilized for various activities by the process of assimilation. And then egestion is the last step. Here, the removal of waste takes place through the anal pore. In the case of amoeba, the elimination is done by the rupturing of the cell membrane. But in the case of paramecium, the elimination takes place through the anal pore. So in the case of amoeba, pseudopodia helps to catch the food material, and in the case of paramecium, cilia helps to catch the food material. And the removal of waste takes place in the case of amoeba by the rupturing of the cell membrane, and in the case of the paramecium through the anal. Hope you understood the topic heterotrophic nutrition and the different types and the nutrition, difference in nutrition between unicellular organisms like amoeba and paramecium, and the difference between autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now there is a worksheet for you. Please do it.